Greetings gamers, Tim here again, and today I wanted to talk about, yet again, another RPG-a-day day. This is day 18, and we're about halfway through the month, a little over, pushing towards the post-Gen Con glow for some people, and those of us who didn't get the chance to go, are jealous and envious and a whole lot of other words that mean, damn, I wish I'd been able to go. Now, here's the thing. I have a problem doing favorite game system because I like a lot of systems. I like what they do and how they do them in different ways. I generally like systems that cater to their setting and vice versa. I mean, if you're going to make a game system, make sure it makes the setting sing, in my opinion. Generic systems, I used to use a lot of them and found out they worked best when I didn't really have a setting in mind, just an understood setting, and they worked well for horror or generic settings. I mean, let's be honest, anything that didn't particularly stand out or needed emphasizing, I could do in a generic game. That doesn't mean they're bad, that just, they didn't inspire. While something tailored to its setting does inspire quite a bit. There are some wonderful games out there that do that incredibly well, and I could name them. Now, since I'm also a game designer, a game writer, I run into the problem of, do I pick one of my own games or do I pick somebody else's game? So, since I have trouble and I don't want my ego to, completely crush anybody else's efforts over the years, I'm going to do a little bit of both because I like my games. I wrote them for me. I think they're the most awesome games ever. They're not perfect, but neither is any game. So, but I also like other games. So I'm going to do other people's games writing first, and I'm going to go with my favorite game system that I did not write, which is this. There's a reason I paid to have my books made hardbacks. There's a reason it's come up multiple times on this RPG-a-day list, and may come up again for all I know. I haven't paid attention to what's further on. But it is a simple system, percentile based. You roll on a chart and you compare the character's rank of ability with the die roll, and you get a easily color-coded result. Fail, pass, pass plus a little bonus, pass plus basically a critical result. You do really well on a rep. And it's very visual, it's very simple, and this is pretty much the only chart you need once characters are made. Now there's some other things that might come up, like exactly how fast is an earthly ground speed that you might want to reference, but you can write that down on the character sheet. You don't actually need the charts for that. But some people don't like charts. I get that. I don't entirely understand it, but I get the gist. But for me, this system is robust. It's held up remarkably well as a standard system. I've run fantasy, I've run superheroes, I have run martial arts games, I have run not really horror, but supernatural investigation games, and it's held up very well. But it's tailored to do superheroes, so it's got some biases in there. Now, I really love it. It's a great system. I have seen, variations of it that TSR had tried with Gamma World and with other games that they put out, and none of them quite got the simplicity and feel of the Marvel version. Now, I'm going to move on to the favorite game that I wrote, and that becomes even more difficult because I've written 2 games. I'm working on a second edition of one of them, and it's tough. It's tough to choose. It's like choosing between 2 children or 2 pets that you love a lot. And it gets down to which one is best as well as my favorite. Because I'll be honest, the first game I wrote, Hearts and Souls First Edition, was clumsy. I recognize it was clumsy. First book that I wrote, I didn't quite understand the process of it, and I had no one out there to help. I tried, because there were forums online at the time that you could use, but nobody seemed to want to give me feedback or were interested in helping me create a superhero game. They were all interested in, a lot of ways being edgy or dark or different, and I just wanted to do superheroes because that's what was inspiring me at the time. But it is not, I'm going to say, because it is one of my top 5 games. Of my favorites, of the games I created, it's my second favorite. And I think second edition, when Hearts and Souls second edition comes, it will be moved to my favorite spot because I've got some really cool things in there that are new, but not really changing the rules either. Changing a few things to make them simpler, to make them more robust. But there's some really cool switches in there that I'm putting in there that I hope people will enjoy, and they might not. A lot of people I just want a game. I don't want to make it complex. I don't want to make it where I have to think about things. And Hearts and Souls is one of those games where you kind of have to think about your character's motivation and why they choose to do things. And that sometimes doesn't work for people. I get it. I love it though. However, my favorite of my games that I wrote is High Valor. Yeah. It is a very robust, very flexible system that entirely caters to its setting and caters to my belief that the character's choices should matter and impact play. They should impact the way a game plays, not just influence it, but shape it. Your friend says a prayer for your character in character, and that in High Valor gives you a benefit. They give you a pep talk. They grit their teeth and tell you you can't die now, you've got to keep going. That can shape play, and there are mechanics in there that support it. Better yet, the mechanics support that valor, heroism is important. They support that your willpower is important and that your faith is important in the game. It also makes it important that when you sit down and write a character up, the things on your character sheet are things you wanted there. They describe your character in a sort of fictional, slightly descriptive way that lets you say, okay, I'm strong as an ox, or I'm the biggest guy there is, or something like that. It allows you to describe your character in a way a novel would describe your character. Yeah, sure, it gives you rankings so that, somebody might want to have the same attribute as you at a higher ranking, but that may mean that they've put more emphasis on it, or it's more a focus of what their fiction is about. Because you could be the biggest guy there is, and that's true, but there's another big guy over there, but he feels bigger because he throws that weight and size and height around. And the fiction kind of plays into the mechanics. The mechanics are very designed so that each thing you put on your character sheet is a flag saying, I want my character to have this be important when it comes up in play. Plus, it's a game where if I wanted to make a combat wrestler, like the old wrestlers in Celtic Tales, who could, kill monsters by wrestling to the ground and then breaking their necks or putting them into submission, I could build that and it would work in the mechanics because it doesn't assume that just because you're fighting with your bare hands, you're somehow weaker and less able to kill something than somebody with a sword or a bow. Now, there are advantages and disadvantages to that because it's a fairly light system. It does require some interpretation, but it gives a very solid base ground for play, and that's why it's my favorite system. I think Hearts and Souls will move it down to number 2, but we're talking maybe, and it's not finished at this point, so I can't say for sure. But I am working very hard to make sure that it's not quite as primitive an effort, and that all the things I've learned from writing Hearts and Souls 1 and High Valor 1 will go into making Hearts and Souls 2 a fantastic and multicolored 4-color game. But anyway, it has been a long video for this. I hope you enjoy it. I hope you enjoy my other videos. You're welcome to subscribe. I will be going back to doing vlogs fairly regularly here next month when these little challenges are over. And so, keep watch. I'll babble about more stuff then, and maybe by then I'll have a haircut because my hair's driving me nuts. I mean, look at this crazy stuff. I lucked out in the hair department. 41 years old. I'm not losing hair. It's like a badger sat and died on my head. I mean, seriously. They cut it, and there's just like squirrel horde at my feet, and it still looks like I have lots of hair. One of the things to look out on, I guess. It's really sad. Anyway, peace and good gaming.